Politically Speaking, with Dick Morris. Not the usual take, but a podcast from a political insider who's really at heart an outsider.
Donald Trump is scoring the biggest wins of his presidency, and in the next 3 or 4 weeks, they'll get even bigger. The first thing that happened was last weekend on Friday, the House Budget Committee rejected his big, beautiful bill that embodied all of his tax cuts, extended the cuts of 17, put in new tax cuts, no tax on tips or on overtime or on Social Security, all the elements of his program, as well as increased border protection on the southern border. And it was beaten in the House Budget Committee by 21-15. And the 5 Republicans that switched and voted against it were led by Chip Roy, the congressman from Texas, included Ralph Norman from South Carolina, and Andy, I'm forgetting the names, but there were 4 of them. And this gang of 4 stopped Trump's legislative agenda. There followed lots of discussions over the weekend and some arm twisting. And on Sunday, late last night, at an 11 p.m. session, the 4 voted present, and the bill passed and emerged from the Budget Committee. Now it goes to the Rules Committee, where it will pass, and then to the floor, where it will also pass. The important thing to bear in mind about it is that the concern of the fiscal hawks that this bill would add to the deficit was based on a ridiculous estimate by the Congressional Budget Office, CBO, which is a very pro-democratic organization created by the House back in the Watergate era, that the bill would add $4 trillion to the federal deficit and the national debt. It came out over the weekend, though, that this was based on an assumption of zero economic growth, something that isn't going to happen. And when you put in a 3% growth rate, which is about what will happen, there was no budgetary consequence to the bill. The increased revenues made the budget balance. And on top of that, Trump is generating hundreds of billions in tariff revenues, land sales, and also reduced drug prices. And that none of those were factored into the CBO estimates. So in fact, this bill will significantly reduce the debt, reduce the deficit, and perhaps ultimately even permit a major cut in income taxes. So it has a happy ending. And I think it's going to get happier as the data about Trump's tariff increases come rolling in. Bear in mind that when Trump imposes a 10% tariff on everybody, that's $400 billion of revenue for his budget, 10% or $4 trillion. And when he comes to a deal with China for $150 billion, for $500 billion trade deficit and a 30% tariff, that equals $150 billion of increased revenue. And those sums are only part of the equation. He's also got a huge amount coming in from Europe and Mexico and Canada, all told over $1 trillion in revenue. And to think that this bill is going to increase the debt is absurd. In fact, the debt is going to come crashing down. In addition to that, Trump is selling large blocks of land the federal government now owns in Nevada and Utah, and that will bring in massive revenue.
Here is a word from our loyal and valued sponsor, Patriot Gold.
Today's All Access is sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. The 90-day pause that Trump put in place on tariff increases sent stocks soaring. Big rallies, of course, are more common in bear markets than in bull markets. Meanwhile, economists are expressing concern about second quarter earnings. And in a recent Gallup poll, gold came in first, ahead of stocks, as a preferred long-term investment. JP Morgan, Bloomberg, and Goldman all forecast $4,000 gold next year. So call the Patriot Gold Group. The Patriot Gold Group offers no fee for life IRAs to viewers of these videos. The IRA minimums are $25,000 and $100,000 for the no fee for life IRA. So call the Patriot Gold Group and ask for the no fee for life IRA. And finally, Trump has proposed and will pass major reform of drug pricing, basically eliminating the ability of drug companies to charge Americans higher prices than they do in other places. Also, hundreds of billions of savings. So the fiscal hawks were just wrong, and they admitted that when they switched their votes. But that's only one of Trump's trifecta of wins. The second one is in Ukraine. And as you listen to this, and as I'm taping it, Trump is speaking with Putin and Zelensky by phone. And I believe they're going to reach a deal because Putin is basically giving up. The war has turned dramatically against Russia in favor of Ukraine, which is incredible that this feisty democratic republic is fighting back the way it is. After losing manpower and casualties in droves to the Russian offensive, Ukraine discovered they could use drones. And every month they send 200,000 drones over Russian forces attacking them. And now 80% of the Russian casualties are from drones. And these drones are made domestically in Ukraine. They're not imported from other countries. And this self-sufficiency is giving Ukraine new confidence and new military ability. It's basically eliminated the use of Russian armor in the war. The Russians don't dare send their tanks in because the drones would knock them out. And the economics of a drone that costs less than $1 million knocks out a tank that costs $400 or $500 million. So with all of this progress on the battlefield, the Russian economy is falling apart. Its growth rate dropped from 5% to about 0 now, and it's going to go down further. Trump's tariff have knocked the hell out of oil prices, and this drop is absolutely killing the Russian economy. So Trump is winning in Ukraine and will force a settlement of the war. The other huge achievement of Trump is likely to be in Iran. It's no accident that Trump went first to the Emirates in Arabia, and then into the negotiations with Iran. When he was with the Emirates, Qatar was the one I was blocking on. When he was in the Emirates, cut deals for $2 trillion of investment in the United States, which was terrific. But he also probably, secretly, told them to stop subsidizing Iran. And Qatar was the leading subsidy source of money for Iran. So in addition to cutting off Iranian oil sales with an effective embargo, which we're doing now, he basically is turning off the spigot of foreign aid to the Iranian regime. That has made the Ayatollah much more amenable to negotiations and will probably lead shortly to an agreement where Iran will give up nuclear weapons and agree not to enrich uranium at all. This trifecta of accomplishments is absolutely breathtaking. And it's unbelievable that Trump has been able to do these. What a president. Thanks for listening to this whole podcast, but these are monumental achievements, and you can't rely on the mainstream media to either understand them or put them in their proper context. But that's why I do these podcasts. Thanks for watching.